cash machines. And so, for example, Amazon was unprofitable for 9 years, famously. And there's an interview of Jeff Bezos getting grilled on the Tonight Show, I think, with Jay Leno. Is it Jay Leno? Yeah, with Jay Leno. And he's like, "You guys don't make any money." And Jeff Bezos just gives it, he does this like weird laugh. And he's like, "Yeah, we don't, but we could. We just choose not to because we get better returns on our capital by continuing to expand our infrastructure so that we can eventually support literally delivering things the next day to every single customer in America." Notwithstanding the fact that they have the single most successful subscription in history in Amazon Prime. More people are subscribed to Amazon Prime than own a Bible. They have over 300 million subscribers. That's almost every single person in America is subscribed to a digital subscription for $99 per year, which I think now is $135, to have the ability, the privilege of shopping on their platform and getting faster shipping. And so when Bezos was making the investment of capital into the business, he asked the question, not what do I think is going to change in the next 10 years? He said, what things won't change in the next 10 years? And so he realized that there are some fundamentals that will never not be true. People will always want things to be faster. People always will want things to be easier. People always will want things to be risk-free. And if you can create an outcome that is desirable, fast, easy, and risk-free, then you have an incredibly valuable business. And so this corresponds with the value equation in the $100 Million Offers book. And so time delay is speed, ease is going to be your effort and sacrifice, perceived life of achievement is your risk, and then the dream outcome is making sure that you're not just making things fast, easy, and risk-free that no one wants, right? And so that's the dream outcome component. And so getting things to your door, a lot of people want that. If you can do it faster, they like that more. If you can make it easy for them, they like that even better. And if you can make it so that the purchase they had is very likely to be good, aka the entire review system that Amazon pioneered. Reviews were not a thing. Think about how crazy this is. They were not a thing, and a lot of people were afraid and pushed against Bezos when he wanted to roll out reviews because they were afraid that sellers would hate it. But he bet on the fact that customers long-term would want the transparency. So in Jeff Bezos' very first capital round that he raised, he sold 20% of the business for $1 million to around 50 investors. And so imagine the return on that today for that $1 million for 20% of Amazon. It's more than he still controls to this day, for context. And he took that to buy the initial inventory, get the website established, hire the first developers to get this going. And so if you're going to take on financial debt, use other people's money into your business. If you have a market that must be captured quickly in order to get a network effect of some sort, or you have huge amounts of capital that are required to make the business start to begin with. So if I wanted to start, call it a pharmaceutical business, then I would probably have to have capital for an extended period of time to start a new drug, to do the research, and then maybe 5 years after we get the licensing, then have the ability to print money. But that capital would have to come from somewhere. And so unless you start as a billionaire to begin with, which you absolutely could do that, hypothetically, but the vast majority of these businesses are not started by billionaires. They're started by everyday people who have a good idea. And then they go to people who have capital and say, hey, I will give you a piece of this upside. Now, this is the live fast, die hard style of making money. The reason it is that way is because it will typically be very investor favorable, especially the earlier it is, because they are taking on more risk. And so the big thing about these mega wealthy paths is that the underlying thing that occurs in all of this is 1, return on invested capital, and 2, the risk that you're taking in order to validate or justify that return. So some guy in 1995 says he's going to start a bookstore on the internet, whatever that is, and you give him $1 million, it's like, I need 20% of this thing at least because no one's ever done this before. You've never started a business before. What's the internet? And are people even going to buy stuff on it, right? So there are so many unknowns here that it makes sense that they had a tremendous amount of compensation for the veritable guarantee that they would lose the money they were going to give.